can't stop progress. Hello, babies. Welcome to Earth. Welcome back to episode 1B of Progress with Parker Duque and friends. I'm Parker Duque. Why 1B? Well, seems like somebody got a little bit carried away on episode 1. Went a little bit off script. And I've been told in no uncertain terms that these podcasts are supposed to be 30 to 45-minute episodes. Oops. That might be an issue. So I had to split episode 1 into 2 parts. This is part 2. Part 1 was the setup. This is where the fun starts. So we begin. You might have recognized that introduction. If you did, hats off to you. If not, it's from Kurt Vonnegut. I'm a big fan of Kurt Vonnegut. He is a favorite author of mine and a wonderful person. I was just in Indianapolis last week for work, and I saw a giant mural of him on the side of the building, and it reminded me of that quote. He was ahead of his time. The full quote goes like this. Hello, babies. Welcome to Earth. It's hot in the summer and cold in the winter. It's round and wet and crowded. On the outside, babies, you've got 100 years here. There's only one rule that I know of, babies. God damn it, you've got to be kind. Isn't that great? I could use that as our That's Great story to start off the episode, but I won't. Because I have a better one. What? Yes, it's true. It happened last week. If you remember, I'm going to start each episode off with a That's Great story. A story I heard and thought, that's great. This story happened last week, but it actually started last summer. I made friends with a couple of mallard ducks, 2 drakes. That's what male mallards are called, drakes. I thought that was kind of cool. Every once in a while, they'd bring a female with them, but for the most part, it was pretty much just those 2, just the dudes, the 2 drakes. So I started feeding these little guys, and I just love them. They are the happiest little dudes. They are very chirpy, very vocal. I had no idea how chirpy ducks were. They never shut up. But it's fun when you say stuff to them because they quack back at you for real. And it feels like they understand you and they're talking back to you. You can talk to them about anything, and they'll quack back. Very entertaining. Hey, guys. How's it going? Quack. Is it going to rain today, you think? Quack, quack. So whenever I hear quacks out in the yard, I'd get excited and I'd run some food out to them. And you know what? Mama didn't raise no fools. They kept coming back. I became a regular stop every day. You should see them fly in. They are athletes. Some people might be sleeping on duck skills. And I'm not joking about this. It's actually pretty macho. Because they come in hot. And they pull up at the last second. It's very impressive. I get nervous watching it. Not super graceful, but not awkward. It's more of like an intense practical. It's a practical landing. Because when I say they come in hot, I mean they are cooking for some non-athletic looking dudes. I call them Angus and Malcolm. If you know, you know. It's because they seem like brothers, and Angus is always up front, and Malcolm is always in the back. And you can tell them apart because Malcolm has a white patch on his chest. So I thought, as the summer went on, I thought we got to be pretty good friends. The only issue was my dog, Olive. She was getting a little too excited about my new friends and was a little bit pushy with them. Actually, she was a lot bit pushy with them. Unfortunately, Olive thinks everybody wants to meet her. And honestly, let's just keep it simple. She's a Labrador. I don't trust her around birds. So it wasn't always easy to navigate that situation when the ducks came around. Most of the time, I'd just put Olive inside while I fed them. But that got to be a hassle. She wanted to stay outside. She wanted to be part of the action. I get it. But she just, for the life of her, she just couldn't figure out how to play nice. And I'm not sure when it was, maybe towards the middle of last summer, but I had just given Angus and Malcolm a plate of food. You can't feed ducks bread, by the way. It hurts their tummies. So you got to buy duck food. So anyway, I had just given Angus and Malcolm a plate of food, and I thought I'd try to bring Olive over slowly to hang with us, me and the Drakes. Didn't go great. The minute we got close, she lost her mind. She pulled on the leash so hard, my right arm was 4 inches longer for a week. And the Drakes weren't crazy about Olive to start with. So when she lunged for them, that was it. They bolted. And they didn't come back for the rest of summer. I was devastated. Every day I waited for them to come around, to waddle up to me all excited and shaken. Nothing. Every day I thought, okay, we pushed our luck. FAFO. Darn it. But before you guys start crying, what I didn't know is mallards fly south for the winter. Dummy me never even bothered to look them up. I just found out that guy mallards were called drakes. Where is this going? Well, let me tell you. Just the other day, I came back from an errand, and look who was waiting for me. Actually, let me show you. And if you're only listening to this, you are so missing out. Hi, guys. Hi. I don't have I'll get you something. I don't have anything on me. You're getting a little aggressive. Let me get some bread and I'll come back. Look at you. Were you hanging out with Olive? Were you guys hanging out with Olive? Did you make friends? Isn't that great? My little buddies are back. The Drakes. Olive hurt her knee over the winter, so she's not the young whippersnapper she was last summer, and now they're all hanging out together. Did you see that? I don't have to referee. We're like one big happy family. And it gets even better. We hosted a dinner last night, and I was talking to a neighbor who told me that he too has duck buddies, and some of them have become so friendly that he can pet them. That's not just great, that's fantastic. Now, do I want to pet the Drakes? Not really. No. Game day decision, I guess, maybe. I'm not going to rule it out if they're doing something cute, looking at me cute or something like that. Sure, I'll pet them. But I didn't even know you could pet ducks. For me, it's so much fun to talk to them and have them answer me back. And then, oh my gosh, who doesn't love having somebody excited to see you? Is there a better feeling in the world? The only way this gets better is if they're penguins. Can you imagine being friends with penguins? It's a bummer I don't like cold weather. I'd give that a shot. Now, I'm just going to take a second here. I'm going to go out of my way to make sure that you guys know that I am not talking about Canadian geese. Now, if we had Canadian geese coming through here, see you, fellas. Keep moving. They're beautiful. That's about it. I'll go ahead and say it. I think Canadian geese suck. They're rude. They're self-centered. They're loud. And here's a little interesting nugget for you. Canadian geese have an instinctual ability to identify heavily trafficked paths and then lay a disconcertingly human-like deuce on that path. That's not a trait you want your friends to exhibit. Moving on, I didn't plan it this way, but apparently episode 1B is going to be an animal-themed episode because, as promised, here is my story about the Ricky the Racoon relocation project. Enjoy. Okay. You know when you go into an ice cream shop and you try a new flavor with one of those little spoons? I thought I'd end the first episode with a Saugatuck story, a little spoonful of what you're going to get here on Progress. This is a story of impossible odds. I'm not a mathematician, but I know one. And I think if he were here, he'd say, "What the? By my calculations, these odds are impossible." Are you intrigued yet? I've got a bunch of these too, Saugatuck stories. And when I say Saugatuck, you should know, I mean Saugatuck, Michigan. Saugatuck, Michigan is a Midwest beach town. Something half the country doesn't even know exists. And I can tell you those people are missing out because Midwest beach towns are incredible. They aren't a secret, and Saugatuck definitely isn't a secret. Every summer, it's in a different magazine as one of the best beach towns in the country, and deservedly so. It's paradise, especially for an active family. Saugatuck is the Midwest version of the Hamptons, just with nicer people and better water. No sharks. Western Michigan has a bunch of these old school beach towns too. They're just like Saugatuck. There's South Haven, Grand Haven, Muskegon, White Lake, up and down the coast, all incredible, all lost in time, all great places to vacation in the summer. Take your pick. I don't believe in magic, but if I did, these beach towns are as close as it gets. I got there by luck. My parents honeymooned there at the Valentine Lodge, which is right down the street from where we are now. They eventually bought a tiny cabin, which we fixed up and added onto over the years, but we sold that place the minute Two Oaks became available. It's obnoxious. Our place now is pretty special, and it came with a name, Two Oaks. Pretty sure the Two Oaks that it was named for are gone now, but there's a bunch more to choose from, and we have a really cool giant Norway spruce that I named after my dad, Raj. Let's see here. We did not name the property ourselves. That would be embarrassing if you ask me, but I will admit having a name for your house can be awfully convenient. It's neat. Our place is often used in directions. It's a landmark for locals because it's on a corner and it sits up on the hill and all the buildings are white. I'll show it to you here in a second. It's a special place. I found some random footage on my phone. We're in a neat part of Saugatuck. It's across from the river and away from the downtown area near the beaches. It's very spread out. There are a bunch of old school beach houses along Lakeshore Drive. And then all the rest of the houses that were all added later have large lots. They're usually ranch houses, which are these really big lots. And on top of that, there's also an abandoned golf course right in the middle of everything. And so where I'm going with all of this is between the lake and the golf course and the large lots, the wildlife in our area, bonkers, which I love. I love thinking about all the wildlife. It's like cartoon characters in a Disney movie. I figure they're either good guys or bad guys. I saw last summer, I saw a groundhog groundhogging at the property next door. Have you guys ever seen a groundhog groundhogging? Me neither. Until last summer. Incredible. They're so cute. Definitely a good guy. Now, giant possum with an eye glazed over by a cataract, bad guy. Different story, bad guy. We also have 3 ravens that are always hanging out somewhere around the place. I can't put my finger on it, whether they're good guys or bad guys. But I've been feeding them, and they've been eating what I give them. I think we're friends. They always sound upset, though. I don't know. I feel like they're the peanut gallery. Like they seem like the old guys on the Muppet Show that shouted discouraging stuff from the balcony. Do you remember those guys? Those are the ravens. I think I've become friends with them. I can't tell. They always seem angry. But it's not all fun and games. Issues arise, particularly with raccoons. And let me just be the first to say, they are every bit as cute in real life as they are on Instagram. The little masked bandit looking guys, they have these little black hands that look like they're wearing little black gloves. Adorable. Once I was taking garbage out after a party at the marina up there, and I opened the dumpster. There were like 10 of the cutest little raccoons you've ever seen just looking back at me. A lot of them were standing up. Almost all of them had their hands up like they're ready to catch the garbage if I threw it to them. I'm not kidding. You gonna toss that in here, mister? I gave it to them too. They were so cute and well-mannered. I was like, have at it, little guys. And that's actually the issue. When those cute little guys find your garbage cans, my son told me that our ravens, and obviously all ravens in general, have the intelligence of a 7-year-old child, which I find fascinating. But taking that into account, I would say the raccoons on our property are probably as smart as a 32-year-old with some life experience under their belt, like a divorcee or something like that. They're formidable. You can't keep raccoons out of your garbage can. People try, but it's futile. And the more you raccoon-proof it, the harder it is to put your garbage in there. It's a superpower that raccoons have. If the food's in there, they're going to find a way to get it. They're very talented. Hats off to all you raccoons out there. Here's the thing. If they ate in the cans, I would have absolutely no issue with it. I would leave the lids open. I would say, come on in, little guys. I would build stairs for them so that they could get in the cans easier. Reduce, reuse, recycle, right? I would love for our waste to go to those cute little guys. Problem is, they go into the garbage can, they find the absolute grossest stuff in there, and then they throw it out of the can onto the gravel. And by gravel, I mean the parking area where my family parks their cars. And then they spread it around the parking area like a buffet. And then they eat from the buffet. And here's the tough part. They don't clean up when they leave. So guess who has to clean that up? That would be me. And you can't not clean that up. Our parking lot is gravel. No one wants to get out of their car and see broccoli in the gravel or spaghetti in the gravel or any kind of garbage in the gravel And when I let my dog out in the morning, she can sense if we've had a visitor, and she sprints straight down there and scarfs down, I mean, who knows what by the time I can stop her. It's just a giant hassle. Okay, here, let me show you Two Oaks because I can. There we go. Driving into the property, that's my family's. We call that the bunkhouse, and that's my mom's house. And there's the garage. Before we get too far into this, and just on the other side of that black 4Runner is our garbage cans. And that's where all of this takes place. And that green truck is going to come into play here as well. So you might be asking yourself, holy smokes, what can he do? Well, what I do is I trap those little cuties and I relocate them, unless it's illegal. If it's illegal, this is all a story I've heard from someone else in a different state where it is legal. Otherwise, I call it the Ricky the Racoon relocation program. And my guy friends from Elgin would be like, you do what? I know. I grew up in the country, and traditionally that is not how we resolved critter issues, but not anymore, not me. Ever since I started imagining animals as Disney cartoon characters, I've lost interest in killing 98% of them, especially the raccoons. I feel like if they were in a Disney cartoon, at least the raccoons I've trapped, they would be the crafty, brave friends that never gave up on you. It just seems terribly wrong to kill them. No matter what they're doing to your parking lot, I can't. Not going to do it. What's the 2% that I can still kill? I don't have a list. I'm not a psycho, but remember that giant possum with the cataract over one eye? In a Disney cartoon, he's the bad guy. I can take him out, no sweat. But not those little cuties, no way. The good news is that those little cuties are almost always super easy to catch. I've got a Have a Heart trap. Here, isn't that a great name, Have a Heart? I'll show it to you here. You load little Butterfinger on that tray right there, and when they step in on that tray, the gate drops, locks, and boom, you got yourself a raccoon. I always use a Butterfinger in my traps. Why? I'm addicted to sugar, so I'm kind of an expert, but I love me a Butterfinger. And I figured, why wouldn't raccoons love Butterfingers too? And I was right. Works almost every time. Pro tip, I always bite the ends off of the Butterfinger, mostly because I can't help myself, but also because I figure the scent of the exposed delicious peanut butter filling can't hurt. So if you ask me how many Butterfingers I could eat, my answer would be yes. Fun fact, if you were wondering why it's called the Ricky the Racoon relocation program, it's because I showed the first one I trapped to my daughter, and she asked me, what's his name? And I said, Ricky. And she said, how do you know that? And I said, all raccoons are named Ricky. Everyone knows that. And she said, for real? And I said, yup. Even girls? For real. And that, if you recognized it, was ripped off from my favorite writer, Christopher Moore. I consider it an homage, a homage. He's a real writer, and he wrote my favorite book, Lamb, although the reference is from another book of his where he says all killer whales are named Kevin. I just always thought that was genius. So when the opportunity presented itself, now it's Ricky. Okay, we're finally here. All the setup is done. This is the story I promised, a story of impossible odds. It begins with a battle I had with a giant raccoon 3 summers ago. His name was Ricky. And when I say battle, that might be misleading. It was a little one-sided till the very end. It was not easy. In fact, it took me the entire summer to trap him. And I don't even want to go into the number of Butterfingers I had to sacrifice in the process. Every time I set up a trap that summer, the next morning, trap was sprung, Butterfinger, gonzo. Garbage everywhere. No Ricky. After multiple failed attempts, it started to feel like he was taunting me. I wasn't even sure if it was a raccoon at one point. The messes he made were impressive. I mean, it seemed like more than one animal, like maybe a group of them, and they were getting the most out of our cans. I mean, it was impressive. But impressive or not, I still had to clean it, so it was honking me off. I almost gave up and locked the lids. Summer was almost over. I was at a friend's bonfire on the beach. Yes, that's right, a bonfire on the beach. It is as cool as it sounds. I told you, it's magical up there, especially if you know the right people. Well, anyway, I was there talking to my buddy, who, unlike me, is a real man. You'll see in this podcast, I'm man adjacent. And I'm good with it. But I'm talking like a real man, a country guy, a hunter who eats what he kills, a kind of guy that can back up a trailer, the guy that can tell you what's wrong with an engine and then fix it, like a real man. And I was telling him about this garbage bully that was having his way with me this summer. And he didn't even think twice. He said, "You're using a have a heart?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You got a big coon." And I said, "Excuse me, sir." And he said, "You got a big coon. You got to put the bait in the back of the trap." And as soon as he said that, I knew exactly what he was talking about. If the raccoon isn't all the way in the back of the trap, the door won't close. That's why you put the bait all the way in the back, to get them all the way in. And as luck would have it, I just so happened to have a fun-sized Butterfinger on me. I'd swiped it from the sailing pavilion earlier in the day. So this was meant to be. That night, at great personal expense, I bit off both ends of that Butterfinger, put it in the back of the have-a-heart, and went to bed. The next morning, I'll be honest, we had a big night, and I'd kind of forgotten about it. But when I let Olive, my dog, out the door, holy crap, she made a beeline straight out to the trap and was going out of her mind. She was barking at something, and something was hissing back at her. I remember turning around and announcing to my grumpy people, "Guess who bagged Ricky?" Nobody cared, though. It was like 7:30 in the morning. My kids worked as sailing instructors, so they were all grumpy and eating cereal and getting ready to go to work, and all I got was a "Dad, chill." Sadly, the thrill of relocating raccoons was lost on my whole crew, even my daughter. Well, I get it. They just kind of outgrew it. Me, not so much. So I jogged down there. Oh, by God. It was the largest raccoon I'd ever seen in my life. I mean, literally. Medium-sized dog. Normally, when I trap a raccoon, they can walk around in the cage, and they have a heart. The size I have is designed for raccoon-sized critters. Look at this. You see that guy? See how he can walk around? Imagine a raccoon that is so obese, he takes up that entire cage. Yeah. Ricky was wearing that trap like it was a sausage casing. He couldn't move. He was so fat, he took up the entire cage, and he was upset. Oh, was he upset. When I walked up, he was hissing at Olive. But the minute he saw me, he locked eyes with me. He was hissing at me. And I felt like the hissing was personal. Like he knew who put him in there. And it kind of set me back. I cannot believe I didn't take any video. I'm so upset about it because you really have to see it to believe it. But honestly, it was probably the last thing on my mind. If we're being honest here, I was probably a little bit scared. I was trying to get Olive to stop barking, but I won't lie. I kind of appreciated her backing me up. Ricky was a fierce-looking dude. And honestly, I was relieved that he was wedged into the cage. And let me tell you something. In no uncertain terms, that kid was greasy. Judging from his incredible size, it looked like he had found an uninterrupted food source. It also looked like he had to crawl through a grease trap or something unspeakable to get to that uninterrupted food source, because his hair, if you want to call it that, was matted down with grease or some kind of lard mud type mixture. He looked waterproof. He looked like an escaped science experiment from the 70s. Here's something interesting. Do you know when humans get big, their heads get big too? Raccoons? Nope. Ricky was a pinhead. He was the size of a medium dog, but he still had the head of a regular raccoon. It was the only part of him that wasn't brown and greasy. So here's how my relocation program works. I trap the raccoons. I put them in the back of my dad's truck, that green truck that you saw, and I drive them way out into the country. And when I say way out into the country, I mean way out into the country, and I release them. Unless it's illegal. If it's illegal, I don't do any of this. I also take the time to drive out to a location where I know the raccoon won't become somebody else's problem, because I don't want to be that guy either. Lucky for me, this is Western Michigan, so it's not hard to find a good spot. And in fact, I have found the spot. It's literally in the middle of nowhere. All four corners are cornfields as far as the eye can see, and that's far. One of the corners has a little dilapidated barn in front, but half of the roof is caved in and it looks like it hasn't been used for 20 years. There's literally no one around for miles. If there's a better place to relocate a raccoon, I don't know it. That kid was so heavy, I tried to pick up Ricky's cage and I had to set it right back down. I couldn't believe how heavy he was. He was solid. It seemed unnatural, but then again, so like I said, so did Ricky. Even with two hands, I could barely lift him. Plus, he was hissing at me. I was afraid he was going to find some way to bite me. He was so heavy and scary, I ended up backing the truck up to his cage so that I wouldn't have to carry him. And I kid you not, I had to, while I lifted with two hands, I had to hip check the cage to get that giant beast into the back of the truck. And as my daughter would say, for real. So I drove Ricky all the way out to my great spot in the country. And that tubby son of a gun, he had to be exhausted. He hissed the entire way there. I was like, buddy, chill. All the while, I was trying to figure out how to let that beast out of his cage without him biting me or eating me. But I figured it out. I climbed into the bed of the truck. I set the tailgate down. Then I slid the cage over the tailgate and tilted it towards the ground. I sprang the latch. Boom. Ricky gone. He slid straight out, hissing at me all the way to the ground. which he hit with a oomph. Just a meaty thud. He finally stopped hissing when he hit the ground, which was a tremendous relief. His hissing was very stressful. So boom, Ricky hits the ground, just waddles away nonchalantly, like nothing had even happened. No panic, no hurry, and good golly, his poor hips, I bet you he was one biscuit shy of blowing out a hip. He was a Mack truck on a Volkswagen chassis. I couldn't take my eyes off of him. It was amazing. I watched him until he disappeared down into the storm drainage ditch that ran alongside the road. And it was great that the storm ditch was overgrown with this tall grass. And Ricky was so big and fat that I could track his movement through the ditch by the way the tops of the grass moved. You know, like maybe a lion moves through the tall grass in the Serengeti, except this was pretty funny because it was a morbidly obese raccoon. See ya, Rick. I was relieved, not gonna lie. I put the cage back in the front of the truck bed, and when I looked down the road when I was doing that, I saw a dot. And I thought, it was a car. And in all my previous relocations, I'd yet to see another car. That was one of the reasons this place was perfect. I mean, we were out there. But I was glad that I'd already freed Ricky because I wanted to keep my program a secret just in case it was illegal, which, like I said, if it's illegal to relocate Ricky, this is just a jokey story. LOL. But I was standing in the back in the bed of this truck, and I remember having an excellent vantage point for all of this. Because if I looked back down in the drainage ditch, and I could see Ricky still making his way down the ditch. Good. Okay. Way to go, Rick. Then I looked back down the road, and even as far away as it was, the dot got my attention because it looked like it was hauling, like it was moving pretty fast. Whatever. I didn't think much of it until I looked back towards Ricky. Ricky had decided to hang a left. He'd come up out of the storm ditch and was now taking a little breather on the shoulder of the road about 20 feet in front of my truck. And ladies and gentlemen, this is what I was referencing when I spoke of impossible odds, because if you asked me what the odds were that one of my relocation subjects would get run over by a car in the middle of nowhere, where I've never seen a car, literally 2 minutes after I released it, well, I would say those are impossible odds. But that's what was laying out in front of me. And I remember laughing dismissively and actually saying no. Chew on that for a second, and I'll tell you how this played out. Because the minute I dismissively said no, Ricky decided to cross the road. Probably at half speed, maybe due to a leg cramp, or maybe he's messing with me, who knows? But I could see them both now, in the same frame. Ricky waddling slowly towards the side of the road, and a vehicle traveling towards us at an alarming speed. Ricky took another break. At first, I yelled at him like he was a bad dog or something. Ricky, go! Ricky! Now I can see that vehicle is a minivan. It's an old minivan with one of those fiberglass camper tops on it. And bruh, that thing was moving. Thankfully, Ricky was moving again too, but slowly. Are you kidding me? What are the odds my 800-pound relocation subject decides to cross the road in front of a speeding Mad Max minivan with antique suspension. Ricky, get! I tried in my psycho voice that works with my dog. And he kept going, just not any faster. And the minivan kept coming and not any slower. And I kept hollering, go, Ricky, go, Ricky. I started waving my hands, hoping the minivan would see me, or at least for the love of God, this giant raccoon that was now in the middle of the road. It was at that moment that I moved on from the odds of this happening at all to the odds of me going to jail for involuntary manslaughter. Why? Because Ricky wasn't a raccoon you run over, especially with 40-year-old minivan suspension. When I said Ricky was the size of a medium dog, I was not embellishing. There was going to be some serious pain here. If this minivan hits that raccoon going as fast as it's going, I'm going to jail because nobody in that minivan with a fiberglass camper roof is surviving this crash. I went through that entire scenario in milliseconds, and then I screamed, not like a guy yelling at his dog. I screamed like a third-grade girl. I was white hot from head to toe. Ricky! You will be relieved to know that that minivan missed Ricky by maybe 3 inches. And when I say 3 inches, I mean 3 inches tops. I'm not embellishing. It may have clipped Ricky's tail for all I know. He looked like a tough raccoon. But I can tell you one thing. I had a 1/4 inch of sweat covering me. I was drenched head to toe as though I'd just gone through some trauma, which I don't know. It felt traumatic. I was shaking. My adrenaline was through the roof. Ricky just waddled off towards the barn. How he knew that barn was over there, I don't know. He's probably running that place now. The other thing I can tell you about that minivan, it had a window air conditioner in it, like the one that would be in a house. It was duct taped into one of the back windows. I think Ricky almost got run over by somebody's house. So that's it. Goofy but fun. I hope you enjoyed this first episode. These puppies will be coming out weekly, hopefully, maybe, like I said. These are for fun. Let's not get carried away with expectations. Please, if you hit the follow or subscribe button, I think you get an alert when a new episode comes out, and it helps me. And please tell your friends about this. Spell Duke for them, D-U-Q-U-E. Send them a link, whatever it takes. Like I said, I need your help. I'm terrible at this part. You can reach the show at parkerduque@gmail.com if you have any requests or questions. You know what you can't stop? Progress.